Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular scheduled council meeting for Monday, March 10th, 2014 at 7 p.m. Our first order of business is our opening ceremony, which consists of the national anthem, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for those service members that have given their lives while defending our country. Would everybody please stand? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Ms. Bettis, you take the roll, please.
Good evening, Your Honor. Mayor Walker?
Here.
Councilmember Lynch?
Here.
Councilmember King?
Here.
Councilmember Squires?
Here.
Councilmember Kerwin?
Here.
Councilmember McCarge?
Here.
Councilmember Sisirski? Here.
Okay, the next item is item 4, approval of the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Lynch,
Support.
support Councilmember Squires. Any discussion from the table, from the general public? Ms. Bettis?
Councilmember Lynch?
Aye.
Councilmember Squires?
Aye.
Councilmember Sisirski?
Aye.
Councilmember McCarge?
Aye.
Councilmember Kerwin?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Mayor Walker?
Aye, motion passes 7-0. Next, we'll move on to our community events. We have Mr. Hank Cable.
Good evening, Your Honor and Council, and the millions of people watching in TV land. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Garden City Lions Club, and we're doing our 23rd annual pancake breakfast. And as always, it's going to be held at the Garden City Moose, which most people are aware of. It's on the south side of Ford Road, just east of Middle Belt. Plenty of parking in the back. We're going to start serving at 8 o'clock until 11:30 or until we run out of food. And it's all you can eat for $5. Kids under 12 is $2. We've got a full menu: pancakes, sausage, scrambled eggs, juice, coffee, milk, and all the fellowship that you can stand. And the proceeds for this, like always, goes to benefit the visually and hearing impaired in our city. And we are going to have our special guest cooks, our Garden City Fire Department, which the Lions Club have worked for a long time, many years, with the fire department and different functions that we do. And a special thank you for the puppy moms. I got confirmation a couple days ago the puppy moms are going to be there with the puppies. And if you're not familiar with those, these are the people that take the pups at a certain age, usually 12 to 14 weeks, and keep them until they're 18 months. Do their initial training before they send them back to school in Rochester. So they're always a big hit with people. So another thing, very important, the Michigan Extreme Combat Sports, which is next door to the Moose, they very generously offered to pay for up to 10 breakfasts for people that may not be able to afford it. The only stipulation is they must call me so I can put their name on the list. So it's 10 people, 10 families. If you know anyone who wants, to come out and enjoy it, they're going to pay for that. And they must call me. My phone number is 734-525-0731. Again, 734-525-0731. And that is on behalf of the Michigan Extreme Combat Sports. Any questions?
Could you repeat the date?
Yes, Sunday the 16th. Sunday the 16th, from 8 until 11:30.
Thank you, Mr. Cable.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to comments from state and county officials. We have Mary McClendon here from Wayne County. She'd like to speak tonight on behalf of Mr. Richard LeBlanc.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and to everyone in attendance here tonight. Again, I'm Mary McClendon from the Office of Wayne County Commissioner Richard LeBlanc, and it's been a while since I've been here, and it's always a pleasure to come to Garden City. But my purpose for coming here tonight is to make sure that you know about the very nice program that we're offering for veterans. And it's going to be on March the 25th from 5 until 9 p.m. And it's going to be at the Wayne Ford Civic League, which is at 1661 North Wayne Road in the city of Westland. And it's really going to be a nice affair. It's a fair for veterans to receive all of their services under one roof. And one thing that's really, really very popular that will be held on that day, the ability to get an ID card, and it's very popular and very, very nice. So all are invited. There's no charge. There'll be giveaways, door prizes, there'll be refreshments served, and it will just be a nice affair where veterans can receive their services at a one-stop shop event. So all are welcome, and we're looking for everyone to come and be a part of this event.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I?
Yes.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you need any volunteers to help?
Well, I'm sure that we could use some volunteers. If you have some, if you would let me know, I certainly will take that information back.
Okay, and we just call your office?
If you would do that.
Okay,
If
and
you
your
would do
number
that.
here?
224-0907, and that's area code 313.
Okay.
And it should be a huge affair. It should be very, very nice.
Oh, the one at Post 75 was. So
Oh, it was
this
awesome.
is going to be
Yeah.
great.
It was awesome. I was there, and it was awesome. Veterans came from all around the county, and it was just very, very, very nice.
Yes, it was. Thank
Yes.
you.
All right, thank
Could you
you.
Thank you.
repeat the time? I didn't catch the
It's from
time.
5 until 9 p.m. 5 until 9 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, we have no petitions or communications tonight, no public hearings. Item 9, the consent agenda.
Mayor,
Ms. Lynch?
I move for the approval of the consent agenda items 9A 1 through 5B.
Support.
And if I could read the appointments.
Okay, go ahead.
On the Historical Commission, we're going to reappoint John Kurtzstetter and Carol Bird with a term to expire March 31st, 2017. And on the Planning Commission, the reappointment of Harriet Batchick and Fred May with a term to expire March 31st, 2017.
Any discussion from the table?
Mayor,
Mhm.
I had the pleasure of working with John Kerstetter and Carol Bird on the Historical Commission. They do just an amazing job, and if anyone has not been over to the Historical Museum lately, it really is a treat, and it's open to the public free, Saturdays 12 to 3, and Wednesdays 12 to 3. It's a phenomenal, it's a
Yeah, they do
really
great,
nice
great
place.
work over there.
Yeah.
A lot of Garden City history in that building.
Yeah. And the only other thing is the Planning Commission, our unsung heroes, all the work that they have to do. I've gone to, I've been trying to go, I'm going to try to go to the meetings only because what they do is so important. And thank you very much for serving on that.
Anybody else from the table? From the general public? Ms. Pettis?
Councilmember Lynch?
Aye.
Councilmember Sisirski?
Aye.
Councilmember McCarge?
Aye.
Councilmember Kerwin?
Aye.
Councilmember Squires?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Mayor Walker?
Aye, motion passes 7-0. We'll move on to our study session. Item 1 is Western Wayne County Fire Department Mutual Aid.
See?
Move it to C.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Just, you guys are good at moving it to C?
Yes.
Okay. Item 2, purchase of a JVC camera for Garden City TV,
See?
and also with A, 2A.
Yes.
Okay. And item B3, permission to file a small claims lawsuit.
See?
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to our C agenda. Item C1, Wayne County Mutual Aid.
B1?
C1.
C1, pardon me. Thank you.
Mayor?
Ms. Lynch?
I move to adopt the resolution for the Western Wayne County Fire Department Mutual Aid Association and MABAS Division's interlocal agreement and allow the city manager to execute all necessary documents related to this matter.
Support?
Support from Ms. McCarge. Chief Harmer, you want to come up, just tell our residents a little bit about what this mutual aid is so they understand?
Yes, Your Honor, Council, thank you very much. The interlocal agreement is comprised of approximately 22 local communities, and what each community does is we share services. What this resolution is going to do is it's going to amend and restate some language within the document that's going to allow us through both the MABAS division to utilize other regions besides our local region. So if we have something of a large proportion, a huge disaster, we could expand upon our current mutual aid system. In order to do so, we need a resolution. Now, the other part of that was to allow the Mutual Aid Association to adopt or to accept additional members internally. What that means is with mergers and such, that when another community comes in, the association will be able to say, okay, they can vote on this member as opposed to each individual community or each individual representative coming back to the community and having it come to a council vote, which can take months up to years. Well, we just went through this with the MABAS thing. It started in late 2009-10, and that just was finished up in June of 2010, and we're just clearing up the language now.
Right. Yeah, we've always had mutual aid with our neighboring communities, but if we ever had a major disaster, plane crash, or like that Frank's furniture store that Wayne had, we could get more help from 22, from farther out to come in and help, correct?
Yes, it's actually a nationally recognized
Right.
unit that is utilized all over the country, and our Bureau of Fire Service recently adopted this, well, recently, within the last 3 years, but other communities use it. We can actually go to other states as well.
Very good. Thank you for explaining it to everybody.
Yes, sir.
Any comments from the table? From the general public? Mr. Buckner?
I emailed Bob on this here a while back. There's been some talk about the possibility that terrorists could attack our grid and it could cause major disaster throughout the country. What does Garden City have for a plan for the citizens? Do the citizens know what to do besides call Bob? Which you know that the lines are just going to be overwhelmed. Do we have a point of attack, people in the city that they could get a hold of? I mean, what do we have for emergency? I know we have a command post. I know we have a fantastic police department. I mean, they're making our city safe. We're number 44 out of 50. That's great. But I think we need to be a little proactive. Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? Ms. Pettis?
Councilmember Lynch?
Aye.
Councilmember McCarge?
Aye.
Councilmember Sisirski? Aye. Councilmember Kerwin? Aye. Councilmember Squires?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Mayor Walker?
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Item 2,
Mayor?
Ms. Lynch?
I move to award the bid of a JVC GYHM 790 camera to Pro SVL of Pensacola, Florida, in the amount of $13,261.23.
Support.
Support from Ms. Searski.
And if I could just add,
Yep.
so that people understand, this is coming out of the PEG fee, which is something that the cable companies give to Garden City for educational purposes. And so the camera will be coming out of PEG funds, not out of taxpayers.
Any other discussion from the table? From the general public? Ms. Bettis?
Councilmember Lynch?
Aye.
Councilmember Ciserski?
Aye.
Councilmember McCarge?
Aye.
Councilmember Kerwin?
Aye.
Councilmember Squires?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Mayor Walker?
Aye, motion passes 7-0. Item C3, permission to file small
Mayor?
claims lawsuit.
No, the other A.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2A, you're right, supplemental appropriation.
And to fund this, I move to approve the transfer from account 235-235-190-000, which is the PEG fund balance, to account 235-235-337-000, which is the PEG fund expenditure account, in the amount of $13,261.23.
Support.
Support from Ms. Squires. Discussion from the table. From the general public. Ms. Bettis?
Councilmember Lynch?
Aye.
Councilmember Squires?
Aye.
Councilmember Ciserski?
Aye.
Councilmember McCarge?
Aye.
Councilmember Kerwin?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Mayor Walker?
Aye, motion passes 7-0. Move on to C3, permission to file small claims lawsuit.
Mayor,
Mr. Kerwin?
I'd like to authorize the city manager to file a claim with the 21st District Court, Small Claims Division, for cost of recovery involving the activation of the response of the Western Wayne Fire Department Hazardous Response Team.
Support.
Support from Ms. Searski. Chief, did you want to come up and explain this one a little bit to the residents too?
Mayor, can I say one thing for the
Yep.
chief?
Yep.
In fact, if you will, I'd like to ask the chief, are we going to name their insurance company also?
I didn't have that information. I was unable to get that. Nobody was forthcoming at the time with that information.
If we could, I'd like to see them named also.
Yes, sir.
Try and get the money back. Thank you.
Okay. The incident occurred back in May of 2012. The reason we're naming 3 people is we had the tenant, we had the apartment owner, and we had the extermination company. When the initial report came in of someone breathing, patient was being tended to, 2 of our people went in to try to investigate. They were overcome, they were out. In the meantime, a woman very pregnant female ran out with her child, exhibiting signs of a reaction to a chemical agent. Somebody come up and identified that he may have been responsible. What he did is he breached a seal. He was instructed not to do so. That put the chemical into the common area, which was odorless, which didn't have a vaporizer or anything of that nature. Our crew went back in. They had airway protection on. They evacuated the building. They asked the guy for the sheets from the extermination company, which should have had the chemicals listed, and we would have been able to identify the agents and then perhaps look it up, be able to let the hospital know what the agent was. Without that, we tried to get a hold of the actual company owner. He was unable to provide it. We were left with no other choice but to call the hazmat team because we weren't sure what proportion, how many people were going to be affected by this. We included all 3 in it because all 3 parties did play part of it, and I will pursue the insurance company as well.
Okay, so it's just to recover the funds that we had,
I'm sorry, yes, sir. That's just, it's cost recovery just for what,
we spent on hazmat coming. Okay.
correct.
Okay, any other discussion from the table? Questions? From the general public? Ms. Bettis?
Councilmember Kerwin?
Aye.
Councilmember Ciserski?
Aye.
Councilmember McCarge?
Aye.
Councilmember Squires?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember Lynch?
Aye.
Mayor Walker?
Aye, motion passes 7-0. At this time, we'll move on to public comments. The items that were not on the agenda tonight, there is a 5-minute time limit. Please state your name when you come to the podium. Mr. Buckner.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to make sure you notice that Representative Knizik
This
is
is
the chamber.
Okay. Okay.
Al Buckner. This past couple of weeks, we heard about the city of Benton Harbor financial emergency is over. Benton Harbor was under the state control for nearly 4 years. The city is projecting a $1.9 million operating surplus in its 2-year budget adopted by the council. The city 2009 fiscal year deficit was nearly $2.4 million. Final executive orders will require that all heads of all city departments report to the newly hired city manager. On the legacy costs I passed out a few meetings ago shows that we're approximately now about $140 million unfunded. And I gave you the information. This all came from the state calculations. And you can make senseless comments that this figure is off base, but trust me, the cash cow of the water department is not going to continue to meet the demands of the pension and benefits increasing every year. Remember just last year, according to Pat Moran, $700,000 increase. Now, you think it's going to be less this year? I kind of doubt it. If you think of having the new employee contract, which we've got 5 coming up before us, is deferring the $140 million of the future unfunded, from which most of this amount is from past contracts that was put together. Also, the 2% raise that all employees have been getting over the years, past and the future, and don't help either. So I would ask the city manager and council, what plan do you have? And if you don't have a plan, are you thinking about one? Do you think Garden City will continue to grow to be able to support the property tax revenue? I don't think so with the new law coming into effect. But I will tell you this, if we don't have a plan, we'll go down the same road. Emergency managers of Benton Harbor, Inkster, Hamtramck, Ecorse, Pontiac, Highland Park, Flint, Royal Oak Township, Lincoln Park, Allen Park, Riverview, and now Detroit. Mayor Wild Westland told his council we have a surplus of $5.5 million back in December. But he also says we have $236 million of future unfunded legacy costs we have got to deal with. Garden City Council must have really believed that Bob is Santa Claus, according to the new budget planning that we had here recently. When Walker asked him to voice their wish list, it was unreal what I heard. You have thought that we had several $1 million in the general fund instead of the $100,000 that the city manager, Bob Murray, stated that we had. Maybe they're thinking about the water fund that has almost $9.4 million floating in it. What does Garden City have? It has $100,000 supposedly in the general fund for the council wish list, over $140 million in future unfunded legacy costs with no plans to finance it thus far. High water rates that charges 52% of its residents, 491% increase for water and sewers they pay for. Yet leadership gives businesses years of tax abatement, water-free discounts, while increasing 52% of the residents' water or sewer rates, and then plans to put on another millage in the future. I want to go back to a meeting here a while back. Walker, when you unleashed a verbal attack on the Wyzek. I think that was so unprofessional, so self-serving, and a sign of jealousy. You bragged about how all this council up here had over 100 years of living in the city like these fine people do. But living here in this city for over 100 years combined doesn't make you smart. I think over the years, we've seen the council and mayors that we have and what it has brought this city to. And living here don't make you smart, but doing smart things will make you smart. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Wallace? Mr. Jones?
Thank you, sir.
Mike Jones, Garden City. Am I satisfied with everything in Garden City? No. But I am unhappy with anyone who constantly criticizes the status of the city, the direction we are moving, and the leadership we have, while never offering any specific changes and being unwilling to put their name on the ballot to provide alternate ideas and leadership. In my opinion, these are the acts of a bully and a coward.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Wallace?
follow somebody that once in a while come up here with a radio and did Mr. Bojangles. Very intelligent. Disrespect for our city and our council. I hate that. You guys were talking in the budget meeting about efficiencies. Yeah, well, not efficiencies, you know, wanting a secretary for this, a secretary for that. Where you getting the money from? See, people are broke in this city. They really are. And any wise person would do an efficiency study before they put on people or lay people off. That's never been done here in this city. We got the best police force around. We got good fire department. But have we ever had an efficiency study? I'm not talking about coming in and say, my bill, how much is my bill? Can I save on this? Can I save that? I'm talking about efficiency of people. And I'm not saying they're lazy, but there's professional people that can come in and tell you how to do shortcuts and cut things off, you know? We've never had an efficiency study of our personnel here. We haven't. Some places you're probably overloaded with work, and some places you're probably underworked with people. I would like to see before anybody adds anybody that takes anybody away from the city to do an efficiency study. Every smart city does it. Every smart business people do it. We got some good people on this council, and they're intelligent people. They really are. And I appreciate them. They donate their time. But we have to sit back and think. You know, this city is for the people. For the people. They're not going to take another price increase, another millage. I'm telling you, they won't. It'll fail. It will fail. There's no more money to get from people that's poor and they won't have it. You know, think about it. But anyway, I hope things are better for Garden City. And I just don't, you know, I've been here a long time. I love this city. I love the people in this city. We've got good people in this city. But boy, please don't put any more burdens on the people. The water bill's marked up over 500%. I was wrong in these figures. It's marked up over 500%. I've seen Mrs. McCormick 3 or 4 times and the guy before her that retired. And it's just not right. It's just not right. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Jim Patterson, James Street, Garden City. I have a couple of comments regarding some comments made at the last meeting. I watched it on tube. Since Garden City was incorporated as a village in 1927, a city with a mayor and council, nonpartisan form of government in 1933, and a council city manager form of government in 1975, there have been numerous mayor and councils, city managers, volunteers for various boards and commissions, city employees, and department heads, all of who have made considerable and valuable contributions to the development of Garden City. Nowhere has it been determined that any one person or group is entitled to special privileges or respect for their service above and beyond the citizens that they serve. Respect is what we give today and demand in return, not what we accomplished or failed in the past. The past is now history and is to be honored. The second comment has to do with the snow removal. The penalties for snow removal are fair since they are equally applied to all. Laws are passed with penalties for the health, safety, and welfare of the general public. Without penalties, some people will not comply with the law. Some feel that the penalties are unfair to the citizens. No one expressed concern about the people delivering mail or the volunteers delivering Meals on Wheels about their health, safety, and welfare. I think the penalties are well in line with the crime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kniezek, did you want to come up and speak?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
State Representative David Kniezek. Hopefully our next senator.
So, good evening, Mayor and Council and Manager Muri. Just a couple quick things. First and foremost, I'm sure it's been plugged tonight already, but I chipped in my $20 to go get my name put on the placemat this Sunday at the Garden City Lions event. So I hope folks come out to the Moose and support them, the good work that they're doing. Secondly, and I don't have, unfortunately, the certificate with me today. It's still being finalized up in Lansing. But I still think it's worth mentioning that Garden City was recently recognized as one of the top 50 safest communities in the state of Michigan. Yep. Again, just a fabulous testament to the quality of police officers and firefighters and public servants that we have here in the city. Third, just to dive into the policy side of things pretty briefly, as some residents may or may not have been tracking, the legislature in previous years moved forward with a repeal of the personal property tax and had put forth a replacement formula that unfortunately left a number of our cities and our townships underfunded as it related to some of the essential services like police and fire that I just mentioned. It was going to be an 80% match. And I think that the lieutenant governor sort of quickly wrapped his mind around the fact that that probably wasn't going to fly when it came to the voters this August. They went back to the drawing board and came forward with a new proposal last week that accounts for 100% replacement for all the lost revenue for PPT. And for me, you know, as somebody who wasn't able to sort of vote on that measure when it had come through before I was in the legislature, it really puts you in an interesting spot. I don't agree with personal property tax in theory because I think it's damaging to small businesses and businesses who want to continue to grow. But at the same time, the way we had the formula set up, it was vital in terms of meeting that public safety need that we had here in the community. So I'm happy that we're now going to be able to get rid of the PPT, help our businesses get a little burden off their shoulders, but also make sure that we're making our communities whole at the same time. So brief update there. I'll skip my fourth one just in the interest of time. The last one, again, I've got a new bill that we're introducing this week, and again, deals with veterans, specifically veterans hiring practices. And again, this is for me a situation where you'd think you could do this, you don't know why you couldn't do this, but the law doesn't permit it. And I'm talking about private employers offering veterans preference when they're going through the hiring process. We see it a lot on the public side of things. We were very surprised, my staff and I, to look at the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Article 7, and we see very clearly laid out that you're not able to give that preferential treatment to particular groups, veterans included. But it specifically says within that act that it does not preclude states from moving forward with granting that permission on their own. And so, simply put, Michigan right now, you cannot give hiring preference to veterans from private employers unless the state says so. So we drafted a bill that essentially is going to give the state of Michigan the permission to do that. Try to, again, for me, it's about that coalition building side of things. How can we get legislation to move? To be forthright, when I'm in the majority in both chambers, the governor's office, the Secretary of State, the Attorney General's office, and all the courts. And very fortunate to have been able to try and build some successful coalitions this year. Reached out to the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency last week, sat down with those gentlemen. To our surprise, when they walked in, the director of the Military and Veterans Affairs Department walked in with them because he was so interested in the bill. I'm not going to quote him on what he said, but it was very positive as it relates to being able to get some labor folks, some business folks, some veterans groups together to try and put the pressure on the legislature to get this bill through. So again, in the interest of time, I will cut it off there, but I'm more than happy to entertain any questions that the council may have.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Knieza? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Anybody else under public comments? Mr. King. Go ahead, Mr. Bacco.
I come from dealing the major one. Not bad. Pothole is so bad. You swim. I make too big pothole. Dealing they put a cable. You swim in it. This road is so terrible. You do to fix anything.
Between Maplewood and Cambridge?
I got Cambridge, that's how Maplewood, the Cambridge, pothole is so bad, you so swim.
Yeah.
Yep. They're everywhere, Mr. Bacco. We're going to do our best to fill them in.
Never happened.
Thank you, sir. Mr. King.
Mayor and Council, Dick King, somewhere in Henry Ruff I live. I just wanted to say a couple of things. Number one, the DPS, those poor guys have been out all day making noise on my street, chasing down the water leak. God bless those guys. They've got that one, they've got another one on Merriman. They've been chasing water leaks all winter long. Those guys deserve our utmost respect. Thanks. I went out and offered them hot coffee, soup, if they wanted something. They've been working there all day. They're still working. They're going to be working later on until the evening. I had occasion to read an article, a letter to the editor in the Thursday Observer. I won't dignify it by saying who wrote it, but I will say that somebody is campaigning for what, I have no idea what. I will say that negative comments do not win elections, as evidenced by the mayor and the council that we have now. They can continue to throw those negative barbs. Thank you to the voters of Garden City for being much more intelligent than to submit to those negative comments and voting what they know is right. Somebody was up here a little while ago, geez, I can't remember his name either, was lauding past mayors in past councils, while at the same time haranguing this mayor and this council and the council that preceded this. Talked about things that were there. Failed to mention the fact that some of these legacy costs were the direct result of, oh yeah, I guess it would have been the mayors and councils from years back. We can't undo what was done then. We can't live in the past. We need to live in the present and plan for the future. So if you're going to sling mud, if you're going to cast negative comments at everybody, just go away, hide somewhere. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay, city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council received a couple of reports today. My guess is you've not had an opportunity to review them, but they do contain answers and information to two questions that came up at the last meeting. One dealt with a collapsing sewer line on private property. You now have that answer, and I've indicated to you what city administration, the direction we're going in there. Since there is litigation pending on this, I won't discuss it much more in public. The other one dealt with, and my thanks to Mr. Wallace for bringing this up at the last meeting. It was a $4 million question that actually is slightly less than $4 million, but it had come up at the December 16th meeting, and we quite frankly had forgotten to answer it. We'd forgotten the question even existed. That answer has been sent to council for you to review, and that one will, I'm sure you'll have to absorb it and come back with more questions. Also at the last meeting, a mother got up requesting a sign for her neighborhood, for her child. We are working on that. The only thing really that's holding us up is we're running about a main break a day in the city, and some are easy and some aren't, as Mr. King mentioned. Those guys have been out on that particular main break, I think, all day. Councilmember King could probably speak better to that. But we will get that sign taken care of. That's a very simple thing for us to do. I want to mention potholes. I'm sure they're worse. The worst ones in the city are on everybody's street that has to drive over them. Mr. Roney, the DPS director, along with his second in command, Pat Warros, and I will be having a meeting tomorrow. We're formulating a plan that we will be able to share with council and share with the public to explain how we intend to address the terrible condition of our streets this year. It is extremely bad, extremely unusual. But we're going to put together a plan, and then we're going to put the plan out there so the residents will know, well, this is what they're doing. They don't happen to be in my neighborhood this week. And of course, as with all plans, it's subject to outside forces. If we continue to run with this main break a day or 2 main breaks a day, it's a little overwhelming for our crews. I want to take a moment to talk about the budget process. I know council is aware of the process and many citizens are aware of the process, but that meeting that has been referred to over and over again where we were just all handing out money. No, what we were talking about were ideas and needs for the city. No money has been earmarked for anything. We're looking at places where we might be able to use our very limited resources to shore up the effects of the city, to make sure we're delivering a good service. But not a penny has been decided that it will be distributed to one particular thing or another. And those will continue to be the topics of conversation at our budget hearings. I encourage people to come to the budget hearings, ask questions, and certainly I don't think there's anybody that will hold back on the answers. It was mentioned about an efficiency study. We actually, by charter, do a management study once every 5 years of a different department in the city. The management audit is actually just an efficiency study by another name. We have done them. And for everyone that I've ever read, and I will go back to the 70s of the ones that I've read, the general outcome of that management audit is, how in the hell are you people doing your jobs?
Yes.
The workload is tremendous and the staffing is extremely limited. And those were management audits that were done long before we faced all of our cutbacks within City Hall. But to say that we've never done an efficiency study, I guess it's incorrect. It's correct or incorrect. We didn't call it an efficiency study, but the whole purpose of it is to have an outside set of eyes come in and say, this is what you're doing, here are suggestions to do it better. The last one that I can recall was DPS or the Water Department. Water Department.
Which includes DPS.
And they made some suggestions and we put them into action. I also want to make one more plea to the public. If you have a catch basin in front of your home or business and it's iced over or snowed over, please make some effort to go out. And if you went out 2 weeks ago and gave this a shot and you hit nothing but 4 inches of ice, so you threw up your hands and went away, go back and give it another shot, because there's been some melting, but a lot of the catch basins are still blocked and it's still causing a lot of ponding on our streets. So anything that you can do as a citizen to help out the drainage on your streets would be greatly appreciated. That is all I have this evening, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kerwin.
I don't have anything tonight, Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Carr?
City manager addressed every issue that I was going to speak on, so I have nothing.
Okay. Ms. King?
Not a thing.
Ms. Bettis?
The city manager addressed everything that I was going to say. However, I always come with something else. I just did get a notice from Representative LeBlanc's, Commissioner LeBlanc's office that says that Wayne County is having an event that will help those who are uninsured navigate the Affordable Health Care Act. It's going to be on Wednesday, March 19th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Cobo. Not at Cobo. At the Downriver campus of the Wayne County Community College. And then there's also going to be one on Saturday, March 29th from 9 to 3 at the Wayne County Community College Western Campus in Belleville. And so those who do not have any insurance, they are encouraging to come down and have someone help you get through that and get you insured. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, sorry. One other thing, for those of, everyone should have received their notice of assessment from our offices within the past couple of weeks. And this week is when the Board of Review meets. So if you are interested in contesting your assessment, you have to do it this week in order to be able to use any of the other steps towards doing any appeals. And you can call our office, 734-793-1610, and make an appointment for those, because they are continuing as we speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief?
Mr. Mayor, forgive me, one of the items I thought, well, since we just discussed it this afternoon, I'm sure Ms. Bettis didn't have a chance to include it. We're looking at another public shredding day for April. It'll be sometime after tax day, after April 15th. And I will update council and the community as we put that together. But we were pleased with the results of the first one. We don't want to make it just a once-a-year event, so we're putting that together again. Also, I don't believe I've mentioned some recent events involving Miss Monica Fulton. Council will recall that we're currently engaged in a competitive grant application. And during the course of one of our recent telephone conferences, the organization that's overseeing this competitive grant application was so impressed with what our group has done that they asked Monica to be a presenter at a meeting that's going on right now in Washington, D.C. That was very exciting, and we were very proud because of the 12 communities, we received some good notice for what we've done and what we've accomplished in terms of putting this plan together to deliver health care to kids in our community. But it gets better. Simultaneously, they are holding a Congress of the League of Cities, I believe it's called, which involves elected officials from all across the nation. They were speaking with the people who are heading up our grant and became very excited about what Garden City is doing. They asked Monica Fulton to come early to Washington, D.C. to participate in a presentation in front of the Congress League of Cities on the things we're doing, the plans we're putting together now to try and bring health care to uninsured kids in our community. There were only two people selected, San Antonio and Garden City. Garden City was selected to represent the smaller communities, San Antonio, Texas to represent the larger ones. And this will be a full-blown presentation. It's probably already taken place, but Ms. Fulton had to leave early to do that. And we're just very excited about that. That is, the city's getting some recognition. This task force that we've put together involves business owners like Mike Farron from Prestige Eyewear. We have the director of the J Development Center off of on Cherry Hill, who's helping with us, the schools, the hospitals, the Department of Human Services for the state. There's just we have some local faith-based groups involved. I'm going around the table, Rotary, Kiwanis. We've brought all of these groups together in order to try and accomplish this goal of obtaining this grant to bring healthcare to Michigan or to Garden City. And we are receiving some recognition for this. That, I promise, is all I have tonight.
Thank you. Mrs. Searski.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Excuse me, I'd like to read an email that the administration received regarding our DPS. I want to commend the Garden City Department of Public Services for the outstanding job you've done this entire winter season. This is the worst winter that I've ever experienced, and your crew have kept our streets clear of ice and snow. I have kids that live in Canton and Westland, and their streets are dangerously full of ice and snow. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and keep up the outstanding work. Let's hope the weather changes soon so the roads can be repaired. Thanks again, Tom Proctor. So I would just like to thank the residents for sending us the emails, and we do read them, and it's really important that we continue to honor our DPS and thank them for the hard work they keep doing. So, thank you. That's
Thank
it.
you. Ms. Squires?
Okay, just one quick thing. I want to extend an invitation to everyone to come out to St. Dunstan's for their fish fry every Friday night through Lent. It's from 4 to 7, and the fish is really good, and we have desserts for purchase afterwards along with beverages. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lynn?
I want to thank everyone for being so short because I'm going to challenge Bob tonight for his comments. First of all, to piggyback off of Mrs. Squire's comments, fish fries, everybody knows I get excited about the fish fries, and St. Rayfield's also has a fish fry going on Fridays from 4:30 until 7 o'clock p.m. So you have two great places in Garden City that you can choose to eat your fish on Friday, and you can alternate back and forth if you'd like to, or just find one that you really like. I wanted to give kudos to Dan Plamaden. Outstanding ice arena. We went for the dedication ceremony for our Olympia machine. I have to say it right. Yes. And not only is the machine spectacular, but the ceiling, it's looking great. They've been just taking care of that ice arena. Once we get our new lockers in there, we'll be ready to take on tournaments. It's looking really good. This Wednesday at the Senior Center, they've been having a luncheon that also talks about things that seniors face. This Wednesday, they're talking about seniors and falling. And the speaker, and I wish I had my paper in front of me, I can't remember where this particular nurse comes from, but she's going to be talking about what can happen if you fall, how to prevent falls, and what to do if you happen to fall, safer ways to hit the ground, etc., so that you don't hurt yourself and have our fire department have to come and pick you up and take you over to Garden City Hospital. It's going to be starting at 12:15. I know if you want to be a part of the lunch, you have to pre-register, and I think tomorrow early in the morning might be the last that you can pre-register for lunch, but you can always bring your own lunch and go and listen to the speaker. Should be very interesting. Potholes. I wish we could take care of all the potholes. They just keep popping up. I know I've been traveling Farmington, and all of a sudden today, and it wasn't there 2 days ago, is 4 tire-eating potholes. I don't know how it developed and where they came from, but they're there, and it's been 2 days. So just pay attention as you're driving streets. Don't go racing up and down. It doesn't matter if it's Ford Road, Wayne Road, whatever. Know your streets. Know where the potholes at least were yesterday. And I recommend you don't travel on the edges of the street, as I see so many people doing, because the edges seem to have more potholes than the centers do. So just drive safely. Let's see. Talking about the efficiency study, I happen to remember that maybe it was 3 years ago, we had a gentleman from SENCOG come in to work with Garden City department heads and city manager, and he did basically an efficiency study of all of our departments, our manpower, and the services we're providing. And again, I do remember the results, and that was, how are you doing what you're doing with the limited resources that you have? So we had one just a few years ago, and that was from the offices of SEMCOG. So we do keep up on that. Talking about the water markup, I'm having a hard time figuring out how water's been marked at 500%. I know that 52% of us, I'm one of those 52%, had our water rates go up instead of down because I'm on the low end using side. However, my water went up 63%, not 400 or 500%. So yes, it's possible somebody's did, but I think if it went up 500%, that they're also having a problem with leaks or something else, because that's pretty steep. So I would suggest that they call DPS in when they're not fixing water main breaks, of course, to take a look at their water and see if they have sprouted a leak, because that's an awful lot. Talking about affordable health care, I don't know if you realize, but there's an office that is on Ford Road, 1 block east of Merriman on the north side. And it is a bona fide office for affordable health care with a representative in there that you can make appointments with. You can walk right in, because I walked in the other day looking for my mother to help me out with some of the stuff. And very, very helpful people. So if you're looking for somebody close, right here in Garden City, there's an office. And I think, and because we're not going to be here next week, Monday, I want to wish everyone the luck of the Irish on St. Patrick's Day. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Lynch?
Yes.
I thought you were going to say something about that service group, the Kiwanis. Aren't they having some kind of fundraiser for comedy night?
And you know what? I don't have the date.
I think it's March 30th.
That's what it is.
And it's going to be at 5 o'clock at Albert's.
Yes,
On
comedy
the alley.
night.
And it's a fundraiser, and I believe you said something about it being used to benefit the Garden City Kids programs that the Kiwanis group sponsors.
And you know, I think not only did I say it this week, but I think I copied what you said last meeting.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, I got some comments as spokesperson for the city. I want to brag on our great city. Efficiency. Going back 7 years, we went from 175 employees down to roughly 100. We have employees, we're very lean, and we have employees wearing several hats, which I think is very efficient. I look, if you come up to the counter during the week and see Debbie, Vicky, Karen, Allison, Mary, going from counter to counter, there'll be a long line, people paying the water bills. They'll go over, and somebody needs a birth certificate, somebody wants to pay their taxes, needs a building permit. I think our employees have really become efficient in the lean times where we've cut 75 employees. So I don't think we can get much more efficient. We're the 44th safest city. We've produced a balanced budget every year. This year we had $500,000 left in our general fund. We got the best plowed streets. Guys go from plowing streets to water main breaks. Our Parks and Rec is living off the revenue from figure skating, softball, hockey, open skating, and they're keeping that ice rink open using no general fund money. We've got the best employees, we've received several $1 million in grant money in the last few years. These people that want to come up with negativity about our city, it's ridiculous. Stay home. I mean, we got a great city. We got great people. Had a B&E behind my house this last week. Middle of the day, 11 a.m. Guy broke a window and climbed through the window. Gardens and a good neighbor seen it, called 911. Our Garden City Police caught him in the act and arrested him. Great police department. We got a fire department. If you have a heart attack or they're going to be there within 3 and 5 minutes. So you want to tear our city apart, go ahead, but I wish you'd move out. Evidently you don't like the city. And that's the way it is, Mr. Walsh, and you can give me the finger if you want. But no, you did. You just gave me the finger. Yeah. Okay. But if you don't like our city, leave. We got a great city. And so let me go on. People like you don't faze me, okay? You don't. We got a great city. Monica, what he just talked about in Washington, D.C., awesome. I mean, that's the type of employees we have. We have a great city. And one more thing, Ms. Bettis, I believe Michigan Wolverines are the Big Ten basketball champions. You usually talk about Michigan State, and I didn't hear you mention that. So anyway.
We have a new firefighter here, and I think I'm going to be sick, so.
No further business. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.